regulators, entrepreneurs, innovators, and friends. In Kenya, say hamjambo, and then say hatujambo. Hamjambo. Hamjambo. It's my distinguished pleasure and immense privilege to join you at the African Stable Summit, a gathering that embodies the promise of Africans' digital future. My engagement with digital finance did not begin in comfort, but in curiosity. In 2017 was when I was first elected as a member of parliament, representing a very rural constituency called Molo. And I posed a question to the then governor of Central Bank and asked, how ready are we on matters of cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, and Bitcoins? And what the governor then told me, and I quote, crypto, he said, is just a passing cloud. At that time, I respected the caution behind these words because prudence in finance is very vital. Yet, as the years have passed, I have watched that cloud take form not as a fleeting mist, but as a transformative force, reshaping its value, created, transferred, and trusted. That passing cloud did actually pass, but we need to give us rain. And that rain is what we celebrate today, the technology that we are celebrating here today. In 2023, Kenya introduced a digital assets tax. We didn't get it at the beginning. And I remember that time I'm sitting at the committee. And remember, by the way, the average age of legislators is around 50 years. And I'm sitting there as the youngest, but as the chair, but the youngest still. And I remember Kakai here, the CEO of Chamber of Commerce, representing virtual assets guys, appearing before a committee, dressed in shorts that I asked him, can you decide whether you're wearing shorts or you're in trousers? Because it was there in between. And then he was flanked by some guy in dreadlocks. I know in Parliament, we have a prescription of how you should dress. It's in our standing orders. You must have a shirt, you must have a suit, you must have a tie. Then everyone was like, guys, you are the fraud guys. But I said, no, let's hear these guys out. And as a result, we came up for the first step of introducing what we're calling then the virtual assets tax. We didn't collect anything, but it started a national conversation. What are these digital assets? What are they? What are these things? That's what Parliament used to use that language there. Then that's where our journey began. And I'm going to take you through the journey of collaboration and running. We now said we need to recognize these people in law. And that's the journey that started with now coming up with a Virtual Assets Providers Bill. Yesterday at dinner with the Kenya delegation, they said Kenya now is the fourth country in Africa to have a legal framework on virtual assets. I told them no, we are the first. Because we are the only country in Africa to have one standalone legislation on virtual assets. The others are just amending a particular law. Where can these guys fall? Capital markets, then you do a small adjustment there. But we have a standalone act that recognizes virtual assets, and we become the first in Africa. This journey did not start easy. My training is in finance. I'm a CPA, first degree in finance, second degree, hoping to complete my PhD now. But I had to learn. I remember the first gathering we had in my club at Capital Club in the evening. And I had to tell guys in the room, can you guys speak in English? Because, come on, who thinks about rails if you want to think about a railway line? Who talks about fiat? We talk about money. No more people talk about money. The gentleman who spoke just before, he's talking about fiat currency. Why don't you just call it money? Because so I had to take hours on end to start to learn your language. Rails, chains, tier 1, T plus 1, T plus 0, off ramp, on ramp. It was a journey. And we spent a whole evening, like almost up to 3 a.m., with my notebook, with my clerk, my legal clerk. I think, I don't know if it's here, Mobuti, he's our director for legal. Can we break this language into easier language? And by the way, as I get towards the end, I want to challenge you to that. You people need to start speaking a language that we can understand. You cannot just on-ram, off-ram, this, that. Now we have to go to our chat GPT to try to Google what we're talking about. But you almost said it there. What is the expected impact on our Kenyans' financial ecosystem? We now have a VASP Act in place. And Kenya now stands on the threshold of a new financial era. This act is establishing the foundation for a regulated digital finance ecosystem that will unlock innovation across payments. In Kenya, you don't have to hide anymore. You don't have to coin your business into other words of what you do. You can introduce yourself and say, I do crypto. I'm a crypto guy, and I pay my taxes, I'm regulated, I have my license. And that's what we are offering as Kenya to this global space. But what is our vision for the rest of Africa? As Visa directly put, we are 54 countries in Africa. We do not need to worry about, am I regulated in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, South Africa, Namibia, Botswana? We are looking forward to have a unified regulatory system across the African continent. And I'm sure we shall get there. And Kenya is leading the front. So now, when you open your operations in Uganda, you can say, I'm licensed in Kenya. So deal with me. I'm okay, I'm licensed. But how did the coming up of this law enlighten us? Globally, the lifetime of coming up with a regulatory framework, the average time is 7 years. So before you come up with a law, it goes to first reading, second reading, public participation, committee of the whole house, that reading, and the Senate. It takes how many years? But we did it in a record 7 months. And this was because, again, we sat down in one evening at Capital Club with these gentlemen and ladies, and we decided we are going to change how we do things in Africa. We are going to make sure we give these people a law. Because, private sector, if Visa wants to do something, let's come up with a new product. Then tomorrow they have a new product. What happens if you want to come up with a new law as government? Now, let's form a task force. And then the task force has another task force to evaluate the task force. And before we realize, by the time the task force is coming up with their recommendations, we are time bad. Because now we are talking about mobile money when people moved to stablecoins. And I want to guarantee you that we are changing that spirit as Kenya. And that's why I'm very excited today to present to you that this is the new way of doing business in Kenya and in Africa. What are lessons from this journey? For me, it started from curiosity. What is blockchain technology? What's Bitcoin? And a few years later, it has come to fulfillment into an act of parliament. And therefore, our gifts are worth sharing across Africa, that we are going to design a dynamic, data-driven, and humane laws that are going to change the way we do business globally. What are lessons that you've learned from all this? If we collaborate, ladies and gentlemen, regulators, legislators, action players, we can change how we do business. And we shall change how we do business. Ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to the next Stablecoin conference. And it's going to be Nairobi. Not here. And you're not requesting. We are telling you. And when you make it in Nairobi and you give me enough notice, I promise I will invite my good friend, His Excellency the President, to grace the next Stablecoin conference in Nairobi. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, Kenya is open for business. On crypto, on bitcoins, on all this space. And most importantly, you can come licensed in Kenya, headquartered in Kenya, and operate into the rest of Africa and to the rest of the globe. Because we mean business. Welcome to Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.